The Democratic Alliance is heating up its campaign to have Minister of Police Bheki removed from office. The opposition party will launch a new campaign tool in the form of a billboard that's described as a provocative message that will speak to the heart of South Africans. DA Shadow Minister of Police Andrew Whitfield has more.
Under a capable state. In 2019, when the DA exposed the critical shortage of rape kits across police stations throughout the country, we knew that we had just scratched the surface of this uncaring, callous government's failures. When we then exposed the horrific state of the DNA backlog in 2019, we knew that this would be a long fight for justice and freedom for the victims of violent crime and their families. And when we exposed that the DNA amendment bill had been sitting in cabinet since 2017, we fought relentlessly to force the minister to bring it to Parliament, and in a matter of weeks it will be before the President's desk for signature. We are fighting for South Africa because South Africa deserves better. We all deserve better. It is a fight that we are determined to win, and it is a fight that we will win. And we will not stop fighting until Minister Bheki is removed as the Minister of Police, and we will take this battle to the President's door at the Union buildings in the coming months to make sure that he can hear us loud and clear. Minister Cele must go, Mr. President.
Viva Andrew Whitfield, viva! Bheki Cele! Bheki Cele! Bheki Cele! He doesn't hear you. He must hear you. Bheki Cele. Magabe ubheki Cele. Kubi 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 oh. Siyaya. Siyaya. Noma. Kubi 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 oh.
Thank you, Nzinga. Good afternoon to you and the viewers at home. As we explained earlier, we're still here at the Constitutional here, where the DA remains relentless in its bid for Minister of Police Bheki to be removed from office. Now, they've just unveiled this new campaign tool. I'm just going to step out of frame so that you can see it. Behind you is a campaign here that states that Minister Cele, nobody is lucky to be raped. As you may have remembered, the horrific Krugersdorp gang rape occurred just a few weeks ago. And in an interview, a recent interview that Minister Bheki was addressing the issue, he was describing the horrific ordeal as to what happened to some of the victims. And then when focusing on one of the victims, which was said to be a 19-year-old, that is where the term lucky came about, where he was describing that she had only been raped allegedly by one man, whereas other victims had been raped by several perpetrators in that horrific incident that took place in Krugersdorp. Now, the DA's contention was that those statements were completely unacceptable. They occurred at a time where it's Women's Month. They've stated here in their campaign of Cele Must Go that this is truly not a safe environment, but most importantly, not only for citizens, but as well as the most vulnerable groups, such as women and children. Joining me now is the DA's Deputy Federal Chairperson, Whitfield, that's going to reflect on this billboard that has been described as provocative that you've unveiled here at Constitutional Hill for all to see. Speaking to Andrew Whitfield earlier, he said that this campaign will really speak to the heart of South Africans. Is that also your sentiment?
Absolutely, it is. I mean, when you look at women being raped, in fact, if you even look at the issue of Krugersdorp, for many, many years, people have been complaining about how unsafe it is for women because of the zama-zamas and other issues in the community. Nothing happened. It's only happening now because there were 8 women that has been raped. What about the others that have been raped? We shouldn't minimize people's suffering just because it doesn't make it into the public, into the media spaces. I cited today, there was a case of a lesbian lady that was raped in Thokoza with a toilet brush. To this day, we've never heard of perpetrators being apprehended. If you remember, some time back, the president had a mbizo with women at Gallagher. There was a particular woman who came out and said, I am here naked. I suffer from challenges because I was raped with a bread wrapper. And because I was raped by so many perpetrators, I went numb because it was probably her way of coping, that she ended up with this plastic being stuck in her body and causing further infections to her body. So you see the trauma that women are dealing with on a daily basis. But the reality is, when women are victimized, ultimately South Africa is robbed of its future, because we are the ones who rear children as mothers in society. I cited an incident that in Tembisa yesterday, a young girl of 5 was found lifeless. Her vagina had been cut out. What kind of a society are we living in? Where is the police when human trafficking is happening? And some time ago, I tabled a motion that unanimously was carried in the Gauteng legislature for the Premier to be the ambassador for anti-human trafficking here in Gauteng, Premier Makura. To date, there has been no report to show what has really been done to counter human trafficking. Human trafficking goes with drug dealing, it goes with rape, it goes with so many gender-based violence issues that are not being dealt with. And you can see that women are suffering in this province and generally in South Africa. What is happening in Gauteng is a reflection of what's happening to the rest of the country. Some time back, we found gogos being raped for their SASSA grants in rural areas. So what are we doing in this country? And you cannot have a country that has a backlog of DNA, because you know justice delayed is justice denied. So when you have a backlog, it means those cases will stay forever. Every time that woman reappears and sees her perpetrator in court, she is re-raped again. She has to relive that trauma. It is unacceptable that we must put women through that. That's why I'm saying we cannot celebrate Women's Month anymore. We cannot. I'm struggling to even commemorate it. For me, it must be a month of reflection to say, what are we saying to future women? Some of us have girl children. What are we saying to our girls? You remember the girls that were raped by a post office guy and then killed in UCT. All we do is we talk about it. Talk shop is enough. It's high time we get sensitized to the atrocities of what's happening to our women and ultimately act. Well, I think we've become a society that has become so desensitized that nothing gets done with these gender-based violence atrocities when they happen. It's unacceptable. It's time a government starts caring and acting. People must be brought to book. Don't tell women, go home and ulungise ndaba zakho ne husband yakho. It's high time these things were dealt with. If a woman comes to say, my husband has laid a hand on me, arrest that man. Let her be the one who stays in the house. Let the perpetrator go find somewhere else to stay until the court proves him innocent or guilty. But don't kick a woman with her children out on the streets because she's scared to go back home. And we don't even have shelters where there are enough shelters to look after all these women, particularly even the LGBTI community, who are forgotten, for lack of a better word. Yeah.
Now, as the official opposition in the country, we see the messaging that you are speaking to the hearts of South Africans, but you actually have the power to start processes to hold ministers accountable. What are some of the steps that you have taken for the state of the nation that you lament right now that is really not safe for not only citizens but women and children as a whole?
Absolutely. In every sphere of government, because the DA has representation, whether it's in a council, whether it's in a provincial legislature or a national assembly, we fight. Just like I'm fighting, just as Andrew Whitfield is fighting as the Shadow Minister of Police in the National Assembly. We will continue to fight. There are questions, there are motions, we table alternatives and solutions that the DA has come up with to say, for example, some of the things we said, make sure every police station has enough rape kits, eradicate the backlog by hiring people to start dealing with these rape kits. And we also ask for specialized courts for gender-based violence. Not enough of those have been implemented because it was suggestions that came from the opposition benches. Sadly, by not implementing, it is the women that will continue to suffer in this country.
All right, thank you so much. That was the DA's Deputy Federal Chair, just reflecting on the billboard here behind us, which is holding Minister Bheki to account for his comments regarding the horrific Krugersdorp ordeal that happened recently. Now, the DA's pressure for Bheki to be removed continues to be relentless. This is just part of a campaign that they have launched, hashtag Cele Must Go. We understand that currently today it has just over 32,000 signatures, just short of its goal of 40,000. As I explained earlier, it's the DA's contention that, among other things, Minister Bheki has presided over the gutting of SAP's capacity, an attempted insurrection, failing crime intelligence, a massive DNA backlog, sharp reduction in detective numbers, 1/3 of SAP's vehicles out of service, and over 9,000 fewer SAP's officers on the streets recently. Now, this campaign tools are part of its messaging, but they intend to complete this bid by heading to union buildings in the next few months to achieve this task of removing the Minister of Police from office. Over to you in studio.
Kenny Mopanga giving us an update there from Johannesburg. Thanks so much for that.